Welcome back to Advocacy, Alchemy with Professor Ross. Today we have a good one, guys. It's a chilly Monday morning in December in 2024. Actually, it's December 16th, 2024 to be exact. We're in West Allis, Wisconsin. Officers respond to a call at Taco Bell near 58th and National. There was a stolen Mazda sitting in the parking lot. When the squad lights them up, the car starts spinning in circles and then bolts. Today we got a chase, guys. And what follows is a 5-mile chase that goes through Milwaukee. This is a recent viral event. I have the case files, guys. All right, so our defendant today, his name is Austin Ford. We'll talk about all the charges. Let's watch the short video and let's jump in.
All right, we're going through the lot. We're gonna be going, crashing into, we're going out to Greenfield. We're gonna be going eastbound on Greenfield.
Nope, continuing north on Major.
Crash into a squad, rammed a squad heading to 60 National, going east.
Eastbound Eluding. Crashed into a marked squad. We're about 5-6 right now. Eastbound National speeds are 77. Traffic medium. And roads are somewhat wet. Still eastbound on National. We're doing about 75 miles an hour. He's going into oncoming traffic right now. Doing office revert. No, Rick, you have 5 to give you head on spot. Pretty clear with traffic right now. It is a little slippery with the road. However, we are being able to catch up to him right now. We're now eastbound on Pierce. Eastbound on Pierce. He's going northbound now on 27. Northbound on 27. We're doing about 70 miles an hour. Light traffic. Also stolen vehicles. Reckless driving. Still northbound on 27, just with the red light at Clybourne. Going into oncoming traffic at Wisconsin. Going in oncoming traffic again. And I think it's Wells. Still northbound though on 27. Oh, sorry, that was me. Does it look disabled at all of you? Or the front end damage should be moderate?
Negative. No front end. There's damage, but he's still moving pretty good. We're passing 24 eastbound.
Come on out, Dan.
Eastbound Highland, he's in the westbound lanes of traffic. There's no traffic passing 15th. Speeds are 70. He is slowing. We are at 13th Street. Slowing again, looking to make a turn. Crash, crash, crash! Pit, pit, pit!
Pit, pit, pit. Going through some grass right now on 13th. Okay, back to 14th Street, northbound on 14th.
We're going through the park. We're going north, what would be 15th, through this park area on the sidewalk.
We're in the park at 15th Street. Milwaukee, you can throw sticks. I appreciate it. Hit a mark squad. Come on, move you guys.
might be shot! Get on the ground! You good, you good, you good! We got him, he's in custody, he's in custody. That was stupid, man. Thanks for coming, guys. Yep.
We got another one in custody.
There's a female that was in the car.
We got it.
We didn't mean to jump in you guys' way.
We go forward. It looks like everybody's in custody. Where the probes at, man?
What probes?
You got stuck with a taser. Did you know that? Stand up for me, man. All right, I'm gonna take the probe off. I feel bad, right?
Fuck.
We got medical coming for you, all right?
Now, what you think about that? I'll say before we even start about the laws, don't do this. Don't go on the chase, because if anything else, if you make it out safely, there's a bunch of fines and fees before you even get through with your cases. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about the laws first. This is in Wisconsin. This was Milwaukee County. That first place where it started, that's the suburbs. They made it into the city. First, recklessly endangering safety. This is found at the Wisconsin Statutes and Annotations, Section 941.30, Section 1. This is a Class F felony. It carries up to 12.5 years in prison and a fine of up to $25,000. Now, this law punishes conduct showing an utter disregard for human life. I'll say driving 95 miles an hour through an intersection, swerving into oncoming lanes, and nearly striking people walking. That's going to fit the standard snugly. All right, this count was later dismissed, but it was read in at sentencing. So it can still influence the punishment. Now, his actual sentencing hearing is coming up in November. All right, I'm going to give you some updates when it does happen. All right, let's talk about counts 2 through 4, which were all fleeing or eluding an officer with property damage. This is found at Section 346.04, Section 3. These are Class G felonies, and they carry up to 10 years in prison for each count. All right, it's important to understand that when a driver, after being signaled to stop by a marked police car in Wisconsin that has their lights and sirens activated, and a person willfully flees and causes bodily harm or property damage, then the offense will escalate into a felony. Now, Ford pled guilty to 2 of these counts, acknowledging that he fled and caused damage to both a squad car and a civilian vehicle. All right, count number 5 is possession of a firearm by a felon. This is found at Section 941.29, Section 1MA. This is a Class G felony also, so still carrying that same up to 10 years in prison. And this law is like many other states, okay? Now, in Wisconsin, a felon can't possess a firearm or ammunition. Officers found a handgun inside the stolen Mazda, and Ford has some prior convictions. He admitted to control of the vehicle, so he's going to be hit with the gun charge also. All right, count number 6 is possession of methamphetamine. This is found at Section 961.41, Section 3G. This is a Class I felony, and it carries up to 3.5 years in prison, a fine of up to $10,000. All right, they found 1 pill, guys. All right, but even 1 pill counts under Wisconsin's strict drug laws. All right, this charge was dismissed, but it was read in to the record again for sentencing purposes. It's coming up in November. All right, this means the court can still consider it when deciding his punishment. All right, count number 7, resisting or obstructing an officer. This is found at 946.41, Section 1. This is a Class A misdemeanor, and it carries 9 months jail time. All right, this happens anytime you're going to either run from the police or refuse any lawful commands. Now, this charge was also dismissed but read in. All right, now, as you see, when you look at the documents, he has 2 sets of types of cases. He has some traffic citations from this event, and he also had some felonies that arose from this event. A bunch of charges, guys. All right, let's take a look at these traffic cases. All the traffic citations are handled, and he's been assessed the fee behind those. All right, first you got operating while having a revoked license. That's found at Section 343.44. Section 1B, he pled guilty. He had a $204 fine. All right, driving with no insurance. That's found at Section 344.62, Section 1. And this he pled guilty to also. This also carried the same $204 fine. So we're at 408 already. Next, failure to keep the vehicle under control. That's found in section 346.57. Subsection 2. He pled guilty to this also. This carried $216.60 worth of a fine. All right. Now he had a couple seatbelt violations, one for himself and one for. Now he got hit with a passenger, but I didn't see a passenger jump out of his car. All right. But he got hit with a seatbelt violation. That's found at 347.48, subsection 2M, and this is B through C. He got guilty on both of those. I only carried $10 a piece, so that's another $20 to our total. Stopping where prohibited, section 346.52, subsection 1H. He pled guilty to this one, and that was $148 fine. All right. Now, these fines are minimal compared to the felonies, but collectively, they paint the picture of a person that had habitual disregard for regulations, the kind of pattern that prosecutors point to in arguing risk and the potential for recidivism, or to go and do the same crime over again. All right, so the current case for the felony is still ongoing until he has the sentencing hearing next month on November 24th at 3:30 p.m. All right, next, let's move into our evidentiary standards. They're important every time we have any police interaction. They're also going to be important anytime we have to finally go to court. All right, guys, we talk about these evidentiary standards daily. We go through 6 levels, okay? We start at the lowest, we work our way up to the highest. Let's do the same thing today. First, mere suspicion. Now, this is the lowest standard, okay? This only means that the police have a hunch that something's wrong. They don't have any proof yet. This is what we're talking about when people call in to 911 and they tell, hey, we need the police here. The act of the police just coming out there, that's based on mere suspicion. They don't have any evidence just yet. Now, once they get there and talk to somebody, we're talking about a different level, all right? But here, the police show up to Taco Bell. They find a car that matches a stolen report. Now, that's just a hunch. Now, once they actually type into their computer in the squad car, the license plate, now we're talking about something different, okay? We move up. Let's go to reasonable suspicion. Now, at this level, the police or the government agent that you're dealing with, they have enough facts that they can articulate to show that there is some criminal activity afoot. That simply means that they think there's a crime occurring. They can express enough to say, hey, look, this is the crime that's happening. And when they get to this level, they can then begin an investigation. So what's happening? The police are going to stop you. They're going to question you and hold you just long enough to find out if there's a crime that actually did happen. Here, when the officer sees the matching plate to a stolen car, what happens? Hey, look, they turn on the sirens and then the chase immediately begins. Moving up a level, probable cause. Anytime you hear this word probable cause and you're talking about the police or some government agency involved, that means somebody's about to get arrested, all right? At this level, there's enough evidence to convince a reasonable person that there has been an actual crime and the suspect is directly involved. At this level, the police are going to arrest someone. Also at this level, the police can go back and get a judge to sign off on a warrant to come search your property. Probable cause is reached the moment that Ford fled in the vehicle and when he started hitting squad cars to try to get away. That's probable cause for multiple felonies right there. All right, let's move up one more level. Next is preponderance of the evidence. Now, this is the first level we're talking about being in court. This is in civil court where people are just suing each other for money. Remember, at this first level in court where people are just suing each other, the burden is not going to be as high as when you're talking about a criminal case. So at this level of preponderance of the evidence, it means simply that more likely than not, my claim is true. So if you're brought in by the government, all they need is 51% of the evidence in their favor to win. If you're suing somebody else, all you need is 51% of the evidence to prove your point. Now, I will say that a person that is on probation, this is also the same level the government needs to meet in order to revoke a person's probation and send them back to prison. But the best way to think about this standard today, this will be used later if victims want to claim some property damage. It's just a more likely than not standard. All right, next, moving up, we have clear and convincing evidence. All right, this is also considered a civil standard usually, meaning that it's when people are fighting over money, contracts, something other than criminal liability. This is used in cases where you're going to need more evidence in order to prove your point. A lot of times, let's say you're going to need more receipts. Anytime you're going to claim that someone's defrauded you, you're going to need more receipts. Anytime you're fighting over child custody and family court, you're going to need a bunch of evidence to prove your point, especially when you're trying to move children from one household to the other. In order to win these types of cases that require clear and convincing evidence, you're going to need about 75% of the evidence in your favor to win. Now, if you look back in these case files here, you'll see some enhancements, okay? Or habitual offender status. Anytime you hear that word habitual offender, in many states, they use that same sort of terminology, either enhanced or I've seen all kinds of different ways to say this. It still means the same thing. When they're trying to enhance the penalty based on prior conduct or prior convictions, all right, and the prosecutor's not bringing any new charges, then they then need to meet this level of clear and convincing evidence to have that enhancement brought against the defendant. All right, let's move up to our highest level, beyond a reasonable doubt. Now, this is used in every criminal case. This level means there's no other logical conclusion besides the defendant being guilty of the charges brought against them. Now today, if Mr. Ford decided to go to jury trial, he'd be looking at going against the body cam, the dash cam, the evidence the police recovered, which was a recovered weapon, enough drugs to make the charge stick. Now the prosecutor would have a high burden, but I think they had enough in their favor where he thought that he couldn't win. Understand that the burden is very high for the government here. They need to have somewhere between 90 and 95% of the evidence to prove their point. And they need to have that same certainty for every element of the crime. So that's what makes this very difficult. All right, so with that, let's move into our jury perspective. And let's ask a few questions if we were on Mr. Austin Ford's jury panel. All right, guys, so let's step into the jury box and let's act like we're jurors on this case. All right, we see all the footage. All right, we've heard from the police and we've heard from Mr. Ford himself. You hear the engines screaming. You see the near miss on the person walking through the crosswalk. You heard the reports of them going over 100 miles an hour through city streets. All right, first question. Do you see this as someone who's panicking, or is this someone knowingly gambling with the lives of others, trying to avoid capture? Now, in any case that does go to trial like this, let's talk about what both sides are going to be trying to do. All right, now both sides are trying to win, always. Defense has the single job of trying to create doubt. Austin Ford's attorney, his only responsibility would be to argue certain things like, oh, it was adrenaline. He didn't intend to harm anyone, he just wanted to escape. And the state will argue in the direct opposite, that every red light, every swerve, all that was a conscious act. And then as a juror, it would be your responsibility to use your intuition and take the facts, the law, and both sides' theories and come to a unanimous verdict, if possible. Now, jurors don't just measure the facts. They really have to do some mental gymnastics of balancing facts, law, and seeing how these emotions play into all of this. Every time jurors are seated, those jurors are reminded they don't have to leave their common sense at home. They bring it with them. We want you to be yourself, all your experiences in life, and put them here on this case. The only thing that we're asking for as lawyers is use the law that the judge gives you. Don't bring any laws you might know. Only use the laws that are given. Only use the facts that are presented here in court. If they do that, everyone is good with what result comes up. Now, there are opportunities for appeals and things of that nature later on, but that's the process that we go through when we're talking about jury trial. You accept the result given to you by the 12 members of the jury. All right? So what's your final verdict? Guilty or not guilty? Now, you see that he had several sets of charges. Some of them, the state decided, well, okay, if we're going to come to an agreement that you're going to be guilty, we can drop some of these charges. And that's what usually happens with a plea deal and a plea agreement. But anyways, drop your comments below, guilty or not guilty. All right, this case today shows us how a few minutes of thrill can echo for years. Ford's sentencing hearing isn't until November, and that's next month. And that will determine how Wisconsin's justice system balances accountability and rehabilitation. All right, 6 traffic tickets, 3 felony convictions. This single high-speed chase became a lesson in escalation, how every ignored order and every reckless turn tightened the law's grip. Hey, my biggest takeaway, guys, once again, if you got young people in your life, tell them never do this. Like, share, subscribe. Remember, this is Advocacy Alchemy. I am Professor Ross. I'll see you tomorrow. I'm traveling. I'm going to 2 different conferences, one for my job and then another, I'm going to DC. So we're going to try to hit this every day still. And hey, we may even throw some lives in there. But with that, everybody, stay safe out there. I will see you soon.
I order you to subscribe to Advocacy Alchemy and return tomorrow, 8:45 a.m. Central, for another lecture. Dismissed.